Today we are reading from Shrimad Bhagvatam, Canto number 1, Chapter 19, Appearance of Sukadeva Goswami, and text number 6. So if you have mobile phones, obviously, and internet, so you can just type on Google SB 1.6, 19.6, SB 1.19.6. Got it? Anybody new for the first time? Yeah. Okay. So first we'll read the Sanskrit verse. You can repeat after me, and then we'll read the translation purport. Ya vai Lashasvi Tulasi Vimishra Krishna Gri Renu Abhyatika Kamyunetri Punati Lokanu Yatra Sevana Kastas na sevate marishamana Ya vai Lakshasvi Tulsi Vimishra Krishna Gri Renu Abhyantika Kamunetri Punati Lokan Abhyantri Seshan Kastana Sevate Marishamana Ya vai Lakshasri Tulsi Vimishra Krishna Gri Renu Abhyantika Kamunetri Punati Lokanu Bhayatra Seshan Kastana Sevate Marishamana. Anybody would like to repeat?
Yave Lasashri Tulasi Vimishra
Yave Lasashri Tulasi Vimishra
Krishna Grirenu Abhyatikam Bunetri
Krishna Grirenu Abhyatikam Bunetri
Punati Lokanubhayatra Seshan Kastam Naseve Tamarishyamana
Kastam Naseve Tamarishyamana. Okay. So we'll read a word by word translation. Ya, the river which. Why, always. Lasat, floating with. Shri Tulsi. Tulsi leaves. Vimishra, mixed. Krishna Anagri, the lotus feet of Lord. Shri Krishna. Yeah. Renu, dust. Abhyandika, auspicious. Ambu, water. Netri, that which is carrying. Punati, sacrifices. Lokan, planets. Ubhyantra, both the upper and the lower, or the inside and outside. Soshasan, along with the Lord Shiva. Kaha, who else? Tam, that river. Na, does not. Sevata, worship. Marishamana,
Marishamana,
who is die at any moment.
who is died at any moment.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
The river Ganges, by which the king sat to fast, carries the most auspicious water, which is mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord and the tulsi leaves. Therefore, that water sanctifies the three worlds inside and outside, and even sanctifies the Lord Shiva and the other demigods. Consequently, everyone who is destined to die must take a shelter of this river. Purport: Maharaj Parikshit, just after receiving the news of his death, within the 7 days, at once retired from the family life and shifted himself to the sacred bank of Yamuna river. Generally, it is said that king took shelter on the bank of Ganges, but according to Srila Jiva Goswami, the king took a shelter on the bank of Yamuna. Srila Jiva Goswami's statement appears to be more accurate because of the geographical situation. Maharaj Parikshit resided in his capital Hastinapur, situated near present Delhi, and the river Yamuna flows down past the city. Naturally, the king would take shelter of the river Yamuna because she was flowing past his palace door. And as far as sanctity is concerned, the river Yamuna is even more directly connected to Lord Krishna than the Ganges. The Lord sanctified the river Yamuna from the beginning of his transcendental pastime in the world. While his father Vasudeva was crossing the Yamuna with the baby Lord Krishna for a safe place at a Gokula on the other bank of the river from the Mathura, the Lord fell down in the river, and by the dust of his lotus feet, the river at once becomes sanctified. It is especially mentioned here in that Maharaj Parikshit took a shelter of the particular river which is beautifully flowing, carrying the dust of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna mixed with tulsi leaves. Lord Krishna's lotus feet are always besmeared with the tulsi leaves, and thus, as soon as his lotus feet contact the water of the Ganges and the Yamuna, the rivers become at once sanctified. The Lord, however, contacted the river Yamuna more than the Ganga. According to the Varaha Purana, as quoted by Srila Jiva Goswami, there is no difference between water of Ganga and Yamuna, but when the water of Ganga is sanctified 100 times, it is called as Yamuna. Similarly, it is said in the scripture that 1000 names of Vishnu are equal to one name of Rama, and the 3 names of Lord Rama are equal to one name of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare
So, we read the purport. So basically, so in our scripture, so there are main 2 scriptures, right? Like generally people know. What are these two scriptures? So one is Bhagavad Gita, and another one is Shrimad Bhagavatam, right? So mostly people know about Bhagavad Gita, right? Because it's quite popular. Gandhiji used to carry, so people know, okay, Bhagavad Gita, but they never open Bhagavad Gita, right? But many people, they don't know what is Bhagavatam, right? So anybody know what is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam? Some points. Yes,
Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna, and Bhagavatam, other personalities speak about Krishna.
Okay. Yeah. What else? What is your understanding when you hear Bhagavatam word? Anything you can say. Yes, Mataji. You want to say something? You can say. What do you feel when you hear Shrimad Bhagavatam word? Or what thoughts comes to your mind naturally?
Krishna.
Yeah. And Bhagavad Gita when you hear? Like what difference you feel? Like, okay, do you know there is a book like Bhagavatam? Or we just know Bhagavad Gita?
I don't know the difference.
Okay. Anybody else?
Gita was spoken by Krishna and just more of philosophy, and Bhagavatam is more of the stories based on that philosophy, how devotees practice that.
Mm-hmm.
Such stories are there about Krishna also.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you're correct. So Prabhuji is also correct. Mataji is also correct. So the Bhagavad Gita, so if we read the Bhagavad Gita, so Bhagavad Gita is, all with, philosophy and do this, do that, right? So it tells us, how to, it's a rule book for us, right? How to live a life, basically, perfect life, right? But sometimes, when it is too theoretical, we don't understand sometimes. So that's why, then Vyasdeva gave us Bhagavatam, right? So in Krishna it is said that, okay, you should not, do anger, right? But in Bhagavatam there are stories why you shouldn't do anger, why you shouldn't get angry, right? So everything that is written in Bhagavad Gita, so all the examples are given in Bhagavatam, right? So the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita says that, okay, you have to surrender to Lord Krishna, but how to do that, So Krishna says, okay, in 18.66, that, okay, you surrender to me and I'll, relieve you from all the sins. But how to surrender, right? So, but when we read a Bhagavatam, then we understand that, okay, from the life of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Bharat Maharaj, so we understand, how to surrender to the Lord, right? So the Bhagavad Gita ends with, surrender to the, basically the last chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna, concludes that, okay, you have to surrender to me, and basically that's the purpose of life, right? And then the Bhagavatam begins, basically. So when the Gita ends, Bhagavatam begins, and at the end of the Bhagavatam ends with very beautiful verse. So maybe I'll read that. No, it's in my phone. So yeah, so Bhagavatam ends with very beautiful verse. So it talks about, if we chant the holy name of Krishna, so that's enough, basically. So the whole essence of Bhagavatam is, described in the last verse of Bhagavatam, right? Yeah. So if we read, so if Gita is like, doing your bachelor's, right? So you have many subjects, but you are not specialized in anything, right? So you let's say I'm a mechanical engineer. How many of you are mechanical engineer here? You are mechanical? Okay. So any engineer, basically. So we have like subject like IC engine, or refrigerations, okay? So, but we don't study this subject in detail. We just have one subject for that semester, and once that semester is over, there is no relation between, me and the subject. So, and especially with maths, like in engineering, sometimes like people used to do a diploma and then used to go for this engineering. So, and they used to get fail in mathematics, and they was like, it's like committing suicide for them, like giving exam for M3, right? So basically, Bhagavad Gita is like, okay, you are touching each and every point, but not so in detail, right? And but like, let's say now I want to do, masters. Sri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki, Gauranita ki, Prabhupada ki. So now you want to do masters. Let's say you want to do masters in IC engine, or there is, power engineering. There is different branch, power engineering, or design engineering. Let's say. So once you take that faculty, so you study, your curriculum in detail, right? So earlier you were just concerned with some formulas, but now you should know, how this formula is derived, right? So similarly, Bhagavad Gita tells us, okay, the formula, right? But the complete description of the formula and everything is given in Bhagavatam, right? So Bhagavatam gives, stories and everything, so that, we can, correlate with the life of our pure devotees, right? So when we see that, so the pure devotees have to suffer a lot, right? And my suffering is nothing as compared to them, right? Then we feel that, okay, I'm so blessed, right? Because all the time we are, lamenting, we have fear, we are in the illusion, right? But when we know what is Bhagavatam, and when we read Bhagavatam, then our, the heart gets, illuminated, right? With the knowledge of the Bhagavatam. And then we can see the things clearly, right? So that help us to, rise in our devotional service and, get rid of our material things like, fear, illusion, lamentation, all these things, right? So let me ask you a question. So what is the art of living? What do you mean by art of living? Not the organization by Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. So in general, what do you think? What is art of living? The new Prabhuji, what do you think? What do you mean by art of living for you? What is the definition? Just to live. Okay, so before going to that topic, let me go further. Basic. What is standard of living? What do you mean by standard of living? It's a simple question. I'm not asking philosophical questions, so you can always talk. Yes,
Simple
Prabhu?
thinking.
Roti,
that's
kapda, makan.
Yeah, right. Like clothes, shelter and food. So that's like standard of living. What is yes, Prabhu?
Yes, simple living and high thinking.
Yeah. What else? Mataji's. Yes, Mataji.
Happiness.
Okay. Yeah. So we, we work so hard to get happy, in office. But once we come home, we are so tired we just sleep. And in the college, right? So the standard of living, as Prabhu said, like we are so much busy in raising our standard of living. We want good home. We want good someone needs good wife. Then someone needs good children. Then you need money, salary, of course, money, salary, right? So there are so many things, right? There are so many things to raise our standard of living, right? But are we really concerned with standard of our life? No, right? We get so much busy in raising our standard of living. We hardly care about, our standard of life. So what is standard of life?
How much satisfied we are, how much happy we are,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Internally.
Right. What else?
Who we are actually.
Yeah.
Doing well.
So standard of life is basically what's my purpose of life? Standard of living is just concerned with maintaining this body. How can I fulfill this desire of body, right? But standard of life means how can I fulfill purpose of this body, right? So there is difference between standard of living and standard of standard of life, right? Now coming to our point of art of living. So what is art of living?
How we can understand the purpose of life and go ahead in that direction.
What else? Yes, Amit. What do you think when you hear the word art of living?
Living life in such a way that no matter what the situation comes, you're able to handle it, tackle it, and live your life. I mean, as Lord Krishna says, his word is Dukkhalaya Shashvata. But one who learns to
Handle.
juggle with the problems,
Tolerate.
like summer and winter seasons, and is not affected by this, has learned to tolerate everything. That is the way of living life. That is actually the art of living, which a lot of people are trying to implement, but they are not able to.
Yeah, right. So basically we all know, how to live a life, how to go through life. So we are going through life, but we are not growing through life, right? So we wake up in the morning, we get ready, students go to colleges, universities, the working employees go to offices and they come back. So we are just going through life, right? We are not growing through life, right? So there is a difference between going through life and growing through life, right? So basically art of life, art of living, we understand, how to go through life basically, right? But have you thought about art of dying? Right. We all know, somewhere, some and rather, what is art of living. But have you thought what is art of dying? When you hear art of dying, what do you think? Yes, Prabhuji, what do you think when you hear art of dying? How to die? You never thought, I'm eternal.
No,
I'll never die. Yeah, but what thought come in your mind when I spoke this word now? No? Yeah. Just check.
Uh, how to die in a way that fulfills the purpose of life.
Yeah? Okay.
To have no regrets at the deathbed.
Yeah, that's also very important. Yeah. Yes, first.
The word which came to my mind when you spoke Art of Dying was Samadhi, attaining spiritual liberation or moksha. That is the ultimate goal and art of dying.
Okay. Right. Yes, anybody else?
To remember, to have that remembrance in mind when you are on your deathbed. That I'm going to go.
Remembrance of Krishna.
Krishna, yeah.
Yeah, right. So basically, like art of dying, like you all are correct somewhere and rather, right? So we all are going through, the kleshas or the miseries in this material world, right? So what are the three miseries? Anybody knows?
Adi Atmik, Adi Bhautik and Adi Daivik.
Yeah. So there are three miseries of life, right? So the first one is called as Adhyatmic, miseries due to our own body and mind. Yeah. The second is called Adi Bhautik, miseries due to other living entities. And third one is called Adi Bhautik. Adi Daivik. So Adi Daivik means miseries because of natural disaster. Okay. So just to go in more detail, so Adhyatmic means like you get some disease or disorder, let's say cancer. So cancer is caused by our own body, right? So there is some, malfunctioning in your cells, body cells, and that's how the cancer is generated because of, the bad cells, right? So it is caused by our own body to ourselves, right? And what to say of the miseries caused by our mind to ourselves? We torture ourselves so much, right? When it comes to, mental health. So nowadays, like so many people are suffering through, not because of the physical health, of course, like you can easily tell, like I have back pain, I have, throat pain, I have cancer, hopefully not. So, but it's very difficult to handle a material or this mental health issues, right? Because the mind is very subtle, the thing which you cannot see, you cannot handle. Right, this thing you cannot see, you cannot work on it. It's very easy to work on the disease related to your body, but it's very hard to work on your mind. So that is nothing but the Adhyatmic, the miseries caused by our own body and the mind, right? The second one is called as Adi Daivik, right? Sorry, Adi Bhautik. So Adi Bhautik means miseries caused by other living entities, So you are sleeping peacefully and one small little mosquito comes and just kiss you on your cheek, and after a few days what happens? You get malaria or dengue, right? You did not do anything, right? You are peacefully sleeping, right? Maybe you are dreaming, in the Switzerland. But one innocent, not sure if innocent is right word for mosquito. So one innocent mosquito comes and it just bites you and you are sick for 2 weeks, And what to say of, miseries caused by our, people around us. So all the health, mental health issues are caused by, people around us. The relationship is the biggest cause for mental health issues. If your relationship is not good, you are like 90% stressed, right? So the Adi Bhautik means the miseries caused by other living entities, right? And Adi Daivik means the miseries caused by the, let's say, the tsunami comes or the earthquake comes or the flood comes, then so many people die at once, right? So it is called as Adi Daivik, right? So basically we all are suffering through these miseries, and we have to take birth, right? So we all have taken birth. No one has, appeared here. Like, okay, I'm Lord Vishnu, I'll just appear without, mother and father, right? So we have all taken birth, right? And birth is so painful, right? May not be for you because you don't remember, but ask your mother, right? Because the giving birth to a baby is considered, breaking all your bones. It's, it is equivalent to like that. the highest pain cause is like, if you are burned alive to, death in fire, so that is the, the most severe pain. And below that is, giving birth to a baby. So that much is the pain caused to your mother basically when she gave a birth to us, right? And of course, like when we are in the womb of mother, so there is hardly space to move, right? So, and you are suffering. So in the third canto of Bhagavatam, so the baby is praying to the Lord, oh Lord, like, I want to get out of this, the womb of my mother. So once I'll get out, I'll pray to you. I'll do my devotional service to you, right? So he's praying to the Lord Vishnu, in a deep pain. So the baby who is in the womb of mother, he's also in pain, right? So the birth is not so, pleasurable experience. So birth is painful, right? So what else? Death is painful, right? So the death is considered as biting of 80,000 scorpions. So I sit here and there are like 80,000 scorpions. I'm not saying you all are scorpions. So there are 80,000 scorpions sitting around me. And I said, get set, go. And they started biting me. So that is like, that is a pain when soul leaves your body. So that much painful is the death, right? And between B, that is birth, and death, that is D, C is what? The choices. But in choices also there are what? The diseases, right? No one is happy when they are diseased. And old age, right? Old age, of course, like you can be happy, person, but your body may not allow you to be happy because with the age, the body perishes, right? So basically, you have to go through birth, death, old age, and disease. These are the 4 miseries, and of course the other kleshas, right? So art of dying means once you leave this body, you don't have to take a shelter. You don't have to take a rebirth again, right? So after knowing that, okay, we have to go through so much miseries in this body, of course, like, okay, you might be healthy, but there are so many miseries we go through. I think you can correlate when you think about yourself. Some people think that, no, I'm very enjoying. So they are in illusion, right? So there is no enjoyment in the material world. So it is called as illusion, basically. Yeah. So art of dying is nothing but when I leave this body, when my soul should not get new body, right? And I should go home back to Godhead, right? So if you read a book of Prabhupada, so in a Prabhupada's book, he always mentioned, going home back to Godhead, Why Prabhupada used this word, home, specifically? Because this material world is not our home, right? We are guests here, right? And the real home is the home of Krishna, right? So that's why always Prabhupada wrote in his purport, going home back to Godhead. He did not wrote, going to, a guest house back to Godhead, something like this, right? He wrote specifically home because he want to emphasize, number of times that this is not our home, right? And we should leave this home and go home back to Godhead, right? So basically, art of dying is nothing but how can we practice our life in a such way that once we will leave this body, we would be going home back to Godhead and we don't have to take a rebirth, right? So, but how to practice art of living? Sorry, how to practice art of dying? Do you know when death will come? Anybody knows? Like, who knows his expiry date? We know expiry date of butter. That's why we use it early. So, but do we know the expiry date of this body? No, right? So, never know. Like, I can, just fall unconscious while giving this class, right? There is no expiry date for this body. It can, it can perish or it can fall out any time, right? So death is very unpredictable, right? So the art of living is nothing but the art of dying. So we have to practice our whole life the art of dying by living art of living. By practicing the art of living, we have to practice the art of dying, because the death will come at 1 second, right? It doesn't take 1 second to, the soul to leave body. One heart attack and you're gone, right? So it is that hard, right? The death is cruel, or heart. That's the truth, basically, right? So basically, our whole life we should practice to die, so that once we will leave this body, we would be going home back to Godhead, right? But my question is, how can we practice, art of dying? So when I say, okay, like, I'll explain what is art of living, what is art of dying, right? So now you want to practice. Art of dying. So how we will do that? So how can you practice art of dying? What do you think, Rajesh?
What?
So how can you practice art of dying?
Art of dying.
In Hindi मरना कैसे है?
No idea. मुझे क्या पता कैसे आएगी मौत?
What is-
Okay, it's my opinion.
Death can come at any time, so
Okay.
you don't know when you will die. So, but how can you practice? How can you make your death, fulfill? So, how can you practice that?
अभी तो कुछ भी plan. I have no plan right now.
By chanting
When I will,
Surrender
yeah,
to
obviously
Lord
everyone
Krishna
plans
and
like remember
chanting the
Krishna. I
holy
want to
name.
die.
Okay, but is it easy to remember Krishna?
No, because we are no well practiced.
We can remember our girlfriend, but remembering Krishna is so hard, right? Because Krishna is not in our consciousness fully, right? So basically, when we'll die, so we may not able to remember Krishna, right? So the whole life is all about, the art of living is all about remembering Krishna whole our life. Right. So I have noted down there are 4 ways, how can we practice art of dying. So you all want to know it? So the first one is called as holy river. So if we read when we read the purport, so the Parikshit Maharaj, when he came to know that, like, okay, he will die in 7 days and 7 nights, he took a shelter of what? The holy river, Ganga, right? But so why Ganga is so pure or sanctified? Anybody know the reason?
It comes from the spiritual world.
Okay, what else?
It's the Charnamrita of Lord Krishna.
Okay, yes, what else? Yeah, so this is like, you guys already know, but people who don't know, what they think, like one of my Venezuelan colleague, so she asked me, why Ganga is so holy. So then I answered, so of course I'll answer now as well. But what is your thought when you hear, okay, people go to Ganga Snan or taking bathing in Ganga? So why people go so much? So what is your understanding?
It can also purify itself.
Yeah. Yes, Madhu.
They do sins all their life and at the last they take shelter.
Yeah. So you do sins all your life and you just take bath in Ganga, all your sins are purified, right? So that's why people go in Ganga, right? That's what there is. That is what their understanding is, right? Right. What else? No, nothing. No opinion, thoughts.
It's in 3 loks.
3 locks.
Like Swarg and Earth.
Ah, okay.
and
Okay.
Patal.
3 words. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So basically, like, why Ganga is so pure. So let me go back to Satya Yuga. So let me go to millions of years back. So there was one king, Bali Maharaj. Okay. So he's a grandson of Prahlad Maharaj. So you all know Prahlad Maharaj, like Narsimha Dev. So the story of Narsimha Dev. So his grandson is a Bali Maharaj, and he was also a pure devotee of the Lord. Okay. But he won all the 3 universes, like all the 3 worlds, like the heavenly planets, then the middle planets and the lower planets. So he won all the 3 worlds, and he becomes so pride, and when Krishna sees pride in us, so the pride is like a balloon, right? So when Krishna sees pride in us, he wants to burst that balloon, right? So he's the best balloon blaster, like pride blaster basically. So when Krishna sees pride in us, so he saw that, okay, he saw the pride in Bali Maharaj, okay, and he said, okay, my pure devotee has pride, So it is not good for his spiritual advancement. So the Lord came in the form of, the dove Brahmana or a Vamandev, okay. And so Bali Maharaj was very good king, he used to do a lot of charities. And so he was doing all these charities. And then when the Vamandev came, so Vamandev, so Bali Maharaj asked, proudly, hey, like Brahmana, what can I give you? So Vamandev said, okay, no, you cannot give me anything, like you don't have that capacity. So he was, puffed with pride, he said, no, I'm the, king of the three words, there is nothing that I cannot do, right? So then, and his guru Shukracharya, he understood that, okay, this is not, the normal Brahmana, he is Vishnu, right? Vishnu, disguised in a, or incarnated as a Brahmana, a dove Brahmana, right? So his guru Shankaracharya said that, okay, Shukracharya said that, okay, you don't give whatever he is asking you, So, but since he was, devotee at heart, he said, no, like he's asking for some charity. I should give some charity to him, right? So this Bali Maharaj, so the Vamandev, he just asked, 3 steps of land, So the Bali Maharaj said that, okay, 3 steps of land, you cannot even sleep with 3 steps of land, it's not even, enough for you. But the Vamandev said, no, like it's enough for me, so you just give me 3 steps of land. So Bali Maharaj, no, like you ask me, acres of land, or you ask me gold, or all the prosperity, right? But Vamandev was from, no, I just want 3 steps of land, right? So this Bali Maharaj said, okay, like I'll give you 3 steps of land. And then Vamandev, raised his size to the, to the universe, like almost to the universe. And with 1 step, he covered all the, the upper planetary system and the middle planetary system with 1 step. With the 2nd step, he covered all the lower planetary system. So basically, he covered everything with his 1st and 2nd step, whatever is the property of Bali Maharaj, right? Just by walking 1 and 2 step, he covered everything, whatever Bali Maharaj acquired in his life, he covered, right? And Bali Maharaj had, still he need to give 1 more step, right? Because he promised Brahmana that I'll give you 3 steps. So, but he was running short of 1 step because he don't have anything to give now, right? But even though you don't have this property, still you have this body, right? This body is always your property. Of course, it's property of Lord, but it's also property of you. Then Bali Maharaj said, okay, like you can keep your 3rd step on my head, right? And then Vamandev put his 3rd step on his head, and then he put, Bali Maharaj to, Patalok, basically, the lower planetary system. And with the, the charity of the Bali Maharaj, the Vamandev got so much impressed that he became his doorkeeper. Can you imagine, the Lord himself is your gatekeeper, right? So from this story, it is like this. So Krishna, so we cannot understand Krishna, right? So we cannot understand Krishna because Krishna shows his mercy by taking away everything, And for Sudama Brahmana, he gave it everything, basically like all the opulences and everything he gave, right? In case of Bali Maharaj, he took away everything. In case of Sudama, he gave away, right? All the opulences, right? So we cannot understand Krishna. So sometimes we lose something in our life, right? So we have to understand that it's Krishna's mercy, right? So because it's Krishna's plan, that's why he took away that from me. It is showing his mercy, and of course it is good for me, right? So coming back to our original story. So when the Vamandev, he, raised his form as a bigger, like a gigantic form. So with his left toe nail, he pierced the causal ocean. This like, so there's a Mahavishnu lying in the causal ocean, and from his body and breathing, so many universes are formed. So these universes are like, so this one, I'm not sure it was. So this is like Mahavishnu, okay, and there are small balls. You know, these small balls are nothing but the universes, okay. So when the Vaman Dev, so when he raised his form to gigantic form, so with his left toenail he pierced the universe, and from the causal ocean then the Ganga came, right? Since the lotus feet of the Lord are always decorated or always offered with tulsi, right? So that's why the Ganga has a smell of tulsi, right? So that's why in the verse it is said that like tulsi mishra, right? So it is mixed with a flavor or a fragrance of tulsi, right? So if you go to, I haven't been to Ganga yet, but from the purport it is clear that okay, when you smell the Ganga water, you can smell that okay, it has a fragrance of tulsi, right? So that's why this is one of the reason that Ganga is sanctified. Other reason that since it directly coming from the lotus feet of Lord or Lord Krishna or Lord Vaman Dev, right? So that's why it is pure, right? So it is like bathing the lotus feet of the Lord, and then it is coming down from all the the top planetary system down to the lower planetary system, right? So that's why it is so pure, right? And when Ganga descended from the the causal ocean, the flow was so much, if it would fall on the earth would get destroyed. That's why Mahadev or Shiva, so he took Ganga in his head, and later on then because of his mercy, so we have our Ganga basically, right? So even the the big gods like Mahadev, they take the shelter of Ganga because it is sanctified and coming from the lotus feet of Krishna, right? So that's why Ganga is purified, right, or sanctified. So but what people do, they commit sin all the life, they go to Ganga, they take bath, and again after coming home they again commit sin. So it's like a never ending cycle, right? So they are just it is a cycle basically. They go, they take bath, they purify their sins, and but again they are back to square one. So there is no point. But when if we look at this verse, so the Sukdev Goswami take a shelter of Ganga, right, at the time of his death, right? But the Jiva Goswami, what he says that, so it was not Ganga, it was Yamuna, because the Maharaj Parikshit used to stay in Hastinapur, that is nothing but our current Delhi, right? So Delhi has this Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki
Jai.
Gauranta ki
Jai.
Prabhupada ki
Jai.
So currently the Yamuna is flowing through Delhi region, right? So basically the Jiva Goswami says that so it is not the Ganga but it is the Yamuna, right? And he says that the Yamuna is like almost 100 times sanctified than Ganga, right? So why? Because the Ganga is coming from the lotus feet of Krishna, but in Yamuna Krishna bathed himself so many times. Like when Vasudev Maharaj, so he was taking him to from Mathura to Gokul. So Krishna, he fall down in the Yamuna, and that's how Yamuna was sanctified. Then Kaliya Leela, right? In a Kaliya Leela, he was almost dance over Kaliya, and he he almost submerged himself in Yamuna, right? And all his childhood in Krishna, so all his Vrindavan Leela, he used to play in Yamuna, right? So that's why so it is said like if you bathe in Yamuna, all your sins will go, but all your the pious things will also go. So like I was hearing one class by one Prabhuji, so they went to Vrindavan for the yatra, and they were bathing in Yamuna. So the other Prabhuji who was from the Vrindavan temple, so he said like if you bathe in Yamuna, if you bathe in Ganga, all your sins will go. But if you bathe in Yamuna, all your good things or pious karma as well as bad thing will also go. So they immediately came out of Yamuna. That we don't want to lose our pious karma, right? So then the Prabhuji explained pious karma. See, like even if you have pious karma or good things, we again will have to take a birth again in next life, right? So the whole point of art of dying is that we don't want to take a birth in next life, right? We want to go back home, back to Godhead. So if we take a bath in Yamuna, so we are purified from all our good things or pious thing as well as the sinful things. So we are at a karma basically, or nishkam karma basically, right? Because we are doing in the keeping the Krishna in the center, right? So basically the first thing what we can do when we are closer to death, or so we don't know when we'll die, but taking shelter of the holy rivers, that is Ganga, Yamuna. In India there are so many holy rivers like Godavari, Krishna, Saraswati, right? There are so many holy rivers. So we can take a shelter of holy rivers.
Where's actually the origin of Yamuna? It's a side river of Ganges?
No.
Or
Origin, so basically Yamuna is the sister of Yamraj. So and she is like basically like they both are son and daughter of Surya. Yeah. So I don't know the origin, but the story is like this. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't read in Bhagvatam, so maybe once I'll
Okay.
read, so I'll tell you in 10 canto. Yeah. Yeah. You want to add something?
No.
Yeah, so first thing is that we can take a shelter of holy rivers. So what is second thing when it comes to art of dying?
Take shelter of the holy name.
Yeah, so the second thing is that the taking shelter of the holy people, the pure devotees. So it is said that like Ganga is holy, but holier than Ganga is the pure devotee of the Lord, right? Because once we associate with the pure devotee, all our the fear, lamentation, illusion goes away, and the love of Krishna is enlightened in our heart, right? So it's like that. If I have 10 euros, right, then only I can give you 10 euros or maybe 5 euros out of that 10 euros, right? But if I don't have 10 euros, and if you ask me give me 10 euros, I cannot give you, right? So similarly, the pure devotee of the Lord has so much Krishna and Krishna's love that when we associate with the pure devotee of the Lord, automatically we get the love of Krishna, right? Because he has so much love of Krishna, so he shares that love with each and every one, right? So that's why it is said that the holier than the holy rivers are the association of holy devotees or the pure devotee of the Lord, right? So this is nothing but our second, second shelter when we want to take a when we want to practice the art of dying. What is third? So third one is
Holy Dams?
holy dams, yeah. So third one is taking shelter of holy books. Like so Vyasdev, so Narad Muni inspired Vyasdev to write all the scriptures, right? So that only because like people of Kali Yuga they have very less memory power, right? Even like what we ate yesterday we even forget. So that's why like then Narad Muni inspired Vyasdev, okay, you write all the scriptures for the people of Kali Yuga because they don't remember anything, right? We forget all the things. So that's why the scriptures are in the written forms in Kali Yuga. But if you remember all the scriptures before Kali Yuga, they were never written. They were always spoken by one person to another person. So it was never written scriptures. So only for the people of Kali Yuga it is written, right? And when we read holy scriptures, so basically we understand how this material world is designed, so that is the first thing we understand, how this creation is done. The second thing we understand, who am I? You might be asking this question to yourself when you wake up from the sleep in the morning. Who am I? Why I have to go to office? Right? So we ask so many questions, who am I? So the scriptures gives answer to this question. Who am I? The third thing scripture answer is, who is the God? So many people claim that, okay, I am God. In India there are, right now 6 Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are, declaring themselves as 6 Chaitanya Mahaprabhu basically. So, and there are 12 Kali Avtaras in India right now. So I think one new channel conducted study. So they invited all the this Kali Avtaras uh, to their new channel, but they did not tell that okay they are inviting other Avtaras as well. And they kept everyone together and said okay you prove that you are the avatar of the you are incarnation of the Lord, right? So many people are declaring themselves as God in Kali Yuga. So the what do you call scriptures sleeping of tongue scriptures tells us who is the God. The fourth thing that we understand how to love a God, right? Because we know how to love a cat, dog, our family members, right? Even our material things, phone, right? But no one teaches us since our childhood that how to love a God, right? We are mostly busy with rituals, right? Because when we remove the spirit from the rituals, spiritual, it becomes ritual, right? Because you see yourself, right? In India, what people do, they it's Monday, so they go to Mahadev's temple, right? They just go, they sat down and they ask oh Mahadev, give me good wife, they are all the time they are asking for the material benediction or material desires, right? And they spend 1 minute and they come home and they are busy with all the material things, right? So that is nothing but the ritual, right? Of course it's a good thing to go to temple, but after going to temple they are not learning anything, right? So when you go to temple, right, so when you go to university, so if you go to university, will you just go to university and just offer your obeisances, and will you offer your obeisances to professor and will you come back to home? No, right? So if you do that, you will fail or you will not learn anything, right? So the temple are nothing but our universities for the spiritual world, right? When you come to temple, so you should learn something, right? So that's why Prabhupada established this chain of not chain, basically all this ISKCON temples all over the world, so that the people of Kali Yuga like us can get this knowledge of the God, this knowledge from the scriptures, right, from the holy books, right? So when we have this knowledge, so automatically we are enlightened to seek for something purposeful, right? Because we are suffering, so that's the fact, right? And we have to accept that. So once we accept that, then we look for the solutions. How can I mitigate my material miseries, and how can I go home back to Godhead? So the main reason of scripture is to love a God, right? So when we read the scriptures, so we start loving God, right? So these are the third thing that we can do for practicing art of dying, that is taking shelter of the holy scripture such as Bhagavad Gita, Shrimad Bhagvatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay. The fourth thing Prabhuji added, it's taking shelter of the holy dhams, right? In India there are so many holy dhams such as Vrindavan, that is the biggest of the holy dham because Krishna did his pastimes, childhood leelas basically in Vrindavan. Okay. The next dham, it is the Mayapur dham because the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared there around 500 years back, okay, to spread the love of God, to spread the holy name of God, okay. Then we have Jagannath Puri. So Jagannath Puri again, it's a holy dham because Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Maharani, it's a residence of them. And also other than that, there are so many other holy dham like Rameshwaram, then all the the people places where this Kumbh Mela happens, right? So sometimes when people know that okay they are going to die, they also take a shelter of holy dham, right? So that is also one of the one of the way to take a shelter. And the last one, the last but not the least, is taking shelter of the holy names, right? So if we read scriptures, Bhagavad Gita or Shrimad Bhagavatam or even a Chaitanya Charitamrita, so the whole summary or essence is that chanting the holy name of God, right? So when we take a shelter of the holy name of God, so that is nothing but we are practicing ourselves for art of dying, right? So can you remember Krishna when you wake up in the morning? No, right? So first thing we wake up in the morning, what is our first question? Where is my breakfast? Right? So we are so much, hungry, because that's how our material body designed. So we are so much hungry that first thing is that, okay, I am hungry now, right? Or so our first question, we are not, remembering Krishna all the time, right? So if you are not remembering Krishna, how will you remember Krishna at the time of death? Right? Because at the time of death, your body is so much in pain. That is first thing. Second thing, let's say you are old, so you will have a memory loss, basically, right? So you may not able to remember that, right? So when you become old, so it is very difficult to remember something, right? Even you don't remember the name of your spouse or your wife, right? Because she served you for so many years. So how will you remember the Krishna that you did not even practice for, few years or some time, right? So that's why the chanting of the holy name is so important, right? So if we chant regularly, daily, so that will help us to remember Krishna at the time of death. And what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, so if you remember me at the time of death, you will reach to my planet, right? So if you remember, like, let's say tiger, you will become tiger in your next life. And so it is also say that, like, till the age of 40 or 45, you already prepare your next body, because you are so much conditioned within this body, so it is very difficult for you to give up that conditioning. So one time, one lady came to Prabhupada and she asked Prabhupada, what will I become in my next life? Very genuine question, like, what I'll become in my next life. So Prabhupada asked her, what is your hobby? So she said, I like to swim. So Prabhupada said, okay, you will become a fish. And one shark will come and she will eat you. Right? So because we are so much conditioned by our, till the age of 40 or 50, we have already prepared our next body. Right? So that's why the best age to start, the devotional service or a chanting of the holy name is as early as possible. Sometimes people have so many excuses, like, okay, I'm kid now. But Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj, they started their devotional service, Dhruva Maharaj at age of 5, and Prahlad Maharaj from his womb of his mother. Then people say that, okay, I'm married. I don't have time. But Bharat Maharaj was married, so he left his home. Then there are, like, so many stories, like, people are married, and Prabhupada was married, right? Still he used to perform his devotional service, right? So many excuses we have not to chant, but we should have only one, reason to chant. That is, getting the love of God, right? Because that is so important, right? We all are seeking for love. We all want to love someone. We want someone to love us, right? So that's very obvious nature of the soul. So even if you don't want to love people, you will end up in loving things. You will end up in loving animals. So that's very, true nature of us. So we have to love something, right? Because that's our nature, right? So when we chant the name of Krishna or chant the holy name, so automatically we revive our consciousness for loving God, right? So because we are not going to Krishna for any material things, okay, give me money, give me good home, give me good wife, give me good children. So you are not going to the God for, material desires. You are solely going to the God for the, the love of God, right? And that is the most highest stage of love or a motivation, right? So once we chant regularly, so we can then remember Krishna at the time of death. And what we chant, so just to spread the love of God, Krishna himself appeared 500 years back in the form of, in the incarnate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you can see that, like, our small deities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on his right side there is Nityananda Mahaprabhu. So Gauranga Mahaprabhu is nothing but the Krishna himself with the heart of Radharani, right? And Nityananda Prabhu is nothing but the incarnation of Balram, or Balram himself, right? So they came 500 years back just to tell us, or just to revive us the love of God, or just to distribute the love of God, right? And how can we practice the holy name? By chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Isn't it simple to chant? Right? So simple, right? So if you want to worship other gods, so you have to do so many fasts, you have to go to their temple, you have to offer some oil, then you have to go to Vaishnav Devi, you have to climb so many stairs, But if you want to love God, or if you want to love Krishna, you just have to chant, right? So anybody can chant. If there is 5-year-old boy, he can also chant, he can also, participate in kirtan, and he can dance, right? If you are like 70-year-old man or woman, so still you can chant while sitting in your, sofa, while lying in your bed. It is so simple, right? You don't have to perform any austerities to do anything, right? So Krishna don't want you to perform austerities, right? Krishna want you to only chant your name. Of course, if you perform austerity, that is good, because that helps us, rise in our spiritual life. But if we perform, even if we chant the name of Krishna, so that is good enough at the starting stage, right? So the point is that, so we have to start taking up the chanting of the holy names, because we never know when the death will come, right? Once the death will strike, again we have to take a birth again. And never know, based on our karma, whether I will be dog, cat, or whatever, or maybe corona in my next life, to trouble other people. So we never know what I'll become in my next life, right? So it's better to chant the holy name and, go home back to Godhead, right? So the most important thing in practicing the art of dying is nothing but the chanting the holy name of God, right? And if we practice this, first thing what I tell, taking shelter of holy rivers. The second thing, taking shelter of holy people or pure devotees. The third thing I told, the holy scriptures. The fourth thing, the holy dhams. And the fifth thing, that is taking shelter of holy names, right? So if we take a shelter of holy name, and when we live our life, keeping those in center, automatically you don't have to practice the art of dying. Automatically, while living only, you are practicing art of dying. So at the time of death, you don't have to remember Krishna. Krishna will remember you. Because all your life you have remembered Krishna. So because when you are old, your body will become so much miserable, you may not be able to remember Krishna. But Krishna will take care of you, right, that time. So that's the essence of, art of dying. So if we practice regularly, if we chant regularly, automatically we can go home back to Godhead, and we can, get rid of all this material, creation. Hare Krishna. So any questions? Yeah.
I have a question. So it's about it's about Bali Maharaj. So as you told, Bali Maharaj, his guru Shukracharya, he instructed him not to give it to him, because he knew that it was
He was Vishnu.
yeah. So what should we do in such a situation? He was also following his dharma while giving austerities, but at the same time he didn't follow his guru. So what's important, more important to us, to follow the guru or to follow our dharma?
Yeah, so basically it is said that if your guru is not connecting with you, with the Krishna, you give up the guru. So he is no more your guru, basically. So since Shukracharya, he's instructing Bali Maharaj, not to serve the God. So then so basically Bali Maharaj gave up the Shukracharya, basically. He said, okay, I'll not follow you, because what you are telling is not as per the Shastra or as per the scriptures, right? So if the Guru is telling us to do this, then we don't, follow the Guru. Another example I have, when during Mahabharata, when Amba came basically, so basically Pitama Bhishma, so basically he kidnapped all the wives, Ambika and Ambalika, but Amba was in love with Shalya, okay, and so basically she said, okay, you kidnapped me, now Bhishma, you have to marry me. But Bhishma, Pitama Bhishma said, no, I have taken, vow of, celibacy for all my life, right? But Amba said, no, no, like, you have to marry me, because else I will die. So then she went to his guru, the martial art guru, basically, Parshuram, yeah. So she went to Parshuram and she said, like, okay, your disciple did this to me. And then Parshuram came and he said to Bhishma, okay, you marry to Amba. So then that time also Pitama Bhishma rejected Parshuram, because he said, like, Guru can give all the instruction, but if Guru says to marry, so you can say no, like, like, oh, no, I'm good to be a brahmachari. So it's like this. So you can reject Guru in such cases if they are asking you to follow against the dharma, basically. Yeah. But of course, like, if you see the Parshuram, he is like martial art guru, basically, or archery guru, like army guru. But if your spiritual master says, okay, like, if you marry, then he knows better, then you should get married. Yeah. So, but he was a different guru, so he rejected him. So in such situations, so we have to follow the scriptures, and the ultimate aim is serving the God, or serving the Lord. Whether it is fulfilled or not, we have to see. Then we can be serve Krishna better in that way. Any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
So what do you exactly mean by taking shelter?
Taking shelter means, like, so why we are in this world? Because of our material false ego, right? So we all were in the spiritual world, and we had a desire to enjoy the Krishna's property, and we were envious, why this guy is enjoying so much, why he has so many wives, why I can't have one. So we all were envious of Krishna, and that's why we are fall down to this material world, right? And since we are in this material world, so we have to surrender to Krishna again, so we have to tell Krishna that, okay, I'm fully surrendered to you, okay, I am qualified to going back to Godhead. I don't have any envy for you now. I am very humble. I don't have envy, I don't have anger, like lust or all this thing. I just have pure love for you, right? So once you get that feeling, once you have that consciousness that, okay, you can love Krishna fully and you can surrender Krishna fully, that is nothing but taking shelter. So it is said that, like, there is one wall, okay, and in that wall there is one small hole, and the diameter of the hole is 1 by 10,000 of the tip of a hair. What is that? Soul, right? So the diameter of that hole is 1 by 10,000 of tip of the hair. It is that small, and the one side is nothing but the material world, and the other side is the spiritual world. Okay, and if you want to cross from this world to this world, if you carry all your material attachment, anger, lust, greed, and everything, you'll not able to pass through the hole, because the hole is very small. Only 1 by 10,000 of the tip of the hair can go through the hole, right? So when we take a shelter of Krishna, all our anarthas goes away, okay. But what is most important thing? So the hole is there, right? But if you have some lubrication, you can easily pass, right? So the lubrication is humility. So the more humble you are, so the more you progress in your devotional life, and it is easier for you to take a shelter of Krishna, right? So taking shelter means loving God, and at the same time surrendering him and his devotee.
Right? When you say surrendering to the name,
Surrender means giving up your ego, straight words.
So when you say, like, taking shelter of the scripture means loving the scripture.
Yeah, of course. Shraddha means taking, like reading regularly, then worshiping. So people say that, okay, now how can I worship Shrimad Bhagavatam? So worshipping Shrimad Bhagavatam is best by reading it. So of course you don't have to. You can do that, but the best thing is that reading it. That's how you can worship Shrimad Bhagavatam. And the best way to worship your guru is by listening your guru. Yeah. So it's like this. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other question? Yes, Prabhu.
So one of the explanations that you gave, that we were envious of Lord Krishna, and that's the reason why we fell down. Now if we again go back and we again become envious, we'll again fall down.
Yeah. So, but Krishna says in Gita, if you come back there, you'll not fall down again.
But then why did we fall down in the first place? Because then we might have done a lot of austerity and we might have gone back, and then that is a cause that we fall down. And now if we, let's say we assume that we accept the fact that Krishna says that, now that if you come back you will, but what is the assurity that we will not become envious again?
So, yeah, surety is that Krishna says in Gita. So, Krishna is the best life premium insurance,
But then in that case we should have never fallen down, right?
No, like, okay, so at the start of the creation, so I have not read, at the start of creation, basically we become envious, so that's why we fall down, because we did not have that, we saw that, okay, Krishna is enjoying, that's why we fall down. But now, after suffering through millions of lifetime, we have that consciousness, we'll gain that consciousness that we will not become envious again, okay? And Krishna says in particular in Gita, like, you will not come back once you will come back to my planet. So that is the best insurance policy, right, that Krishna is offering us. Right? So, yeah. So it's, as per the scriptures, we will not fall down, basically. And scriptures are nothing but the final words.
Like I wanted to add to Prabhu's question actually. Amit Prabhu, like in one of Prabhupada's lectures, one devotee asked the same question. So Prabhupada asked, like, now if you become ill and you are sick, will you think how I became sick, or how will you think I want to become normal again? So what will you think?
Have to become normal again.
So think about that. Forget how you became
No,
sick.
but I did not.
I know, it's a good question. Yeah, so basically like, we become envious, so that's why we fall down. But suffering through so many millions of lifetime, and now we are practicing Krishna consciousness, right? So we are raising our consciousness to the love of God, that once we become purified in our consciousness, so that is a qualification, So no one can, just come to, hospital and do surgery, right? He needs some qualification. So for going to the spiritual world, that also needs some qualification, right? You just cannot wake up from the sleep. I cannot just wake up from the sleep and go to spiritual world. It is not so easy. I should be qualified to go there, right? Even to get a visa of Germany, you need so many documents, right? So visa of spiritual world, it's not so easy then, right? Because it's the spiritual world, right? So.
But then I just said that that was at the time of creation. After creation that happened, right? So at the time of creation, when we were the Jivatma of the super soul, okay, and we were with him, then I just don't understand then in what condition, what could have led for us being a Jivatma to get envious, because that was the time we were actually with Krishna.
Yeah,
in the
so
spiritual world.
so basically, like, why we become envious, so the reason is that, like, when we see someone happy, sometimes we feel jealous, okay, and jealous and envy means like, okay, why this person is enjoying, I also want to enjoy, why this person having so much opulences, why he is so beautiful, why he is so renounced, so Krishna has all the 6 opulences, so that's why he is called as Bhagwan, right? So when we observe that, okay, Krishna has so many opulences and I don't have anything. Of course I have some, but I don't have in all. So I become envious of that, basically. So because of seeing Krishna enjoying, you had that feeling of enviousness. Krishna said, okay, like, and Krishna is super soul, right? Krishna said, okay, you want to enjoy, right? So, but this is my place. So I'll give you a separate place to enjoy, right? So that's why this material world is created just for our enjoyment, right? But we understand that this is not place of enjoyment, but it is a place of misery. That we understand with over period, right? Because some people, like, they feel that in Berlin or in Western world they are enjoying, but they are not enjoying, right? Like going to parties, then smoking weed, taking drugs. So they are thinking that they are enjoying, but they are in the most ignorance, right? So similarly, like since we were so we saw that okay, Krishna is enjoying and we become envious, so that's why we fell down to this material world. And now it's our responsibility. How can we go back home, back to Godhead? So that is by practicing Krishna consciousness. You know. That is satisfy you.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So it is because of it's so sometimes. What is difference between jealousy and envy? Anybody want to?
Envy is when you like take action also. Jealousy is only in the mind or only in feelings, but envy is like you take action also.
Yeah. So good example is like okay, I have iPhone, you know. So you'll think that like why this poor fellow has iPhone, and envy means okay like I have iPhone, I just kept it here, and I just went to kitchen, let's say, and the person who is envious, he'll come and he'll just break my iPhone, and he'll just throw it. So jealousy is passive, and envy is active, right? So basically, like that's the difference between envy and jealousy. So basically, we also wanted to enjoy with Krishna, so with his gopis, let's say. So Krishna will not allow, right? Because that is his property. So that's why he sent us to this material world. Okay, you enjoy, and then you suffer, and then you cry, and then you come back to my land again after practicing Krishna consciousness. So that's the point. Okay. Any other questions? So, would you like to chant one round? So, how many of you motivated to chant?
Stop.
So how to chant? How many of